Morning. Um, so our session for today will be about designing for feedback and authenticity for online learning. So I'm gonna share to you a screen, my keynote that I will be using for now. So thank you for dropping by. So I'll start now. So the main idea behind this presentation will be about guiding teachers to design better assessments in terms of gauging students' mastery of content of knowledge and skills in an online learning setup. So before I start, I just want to advertise. I have my own podcast channel. It's called Empower Ed Podcast with Francis Jim Toscano. It's on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And I have actually a series on the pandemic and education. It's called Global Voices. That is tackling about different problems of education at this time of the pandemic. I interview global educators and leaders to get their own perspective based on their own in their own countries also. By the way, also I also have another series on online distance learning in the same podcast. So if you are interested to know more about online distance learning, then you can visit my search for my podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and listen or stream to my podcast episodes. So may I just start with a context for now? The context that we have right now is we're very much transitioning to online learning. But I always emphasize that right now, the emergency situation is not really simply calling for online learning itself. It's calling for distance learning. When we say distance learning, we need to recognize that there's a gap between the teacher and students who are in different locations. This gap, it's physical, it could be seen in the psychological perspective and even pedagogical. What we're doing right now is actually to address the gap in terms of pedagogy. And in terms of assessment also, we need to remember that for younger students, especially for those in kinder to grade 3, home supervision or guidance is very, very important. We can take advantage of them while at the same time asking the students to be responsible for to help their kids study at home. Remember, what we're asking is home supervision, not homeschooling. There's a difference in that. When we do online distance learning right now, we're not asking the parents to teach their kids in place of us. That's homeschooling. What we're actually asking them is to supervise so that even if the challenge is students learning on their own, the parents are there to support them. All right. And I think very important big idea that I should be able to give right now is teachers need more time to to design better assessment for online distance learning. So in terms of assessment in online learning, I only have two big ideas here. Number one, it is very, very important to design for formative feedback, at the same time design for authenticity. Right now, assessments have been very controversial for a lot of schools. But the, but the pandemic actually, or what's happening right now, is asking us to be more to review or rethink how we should look into assessment. While we say that assessments are tools to gauge student learning, it is also important to consider that at our context right now, the priority of a lot of students, teachers, and even families are actually security, safety, and their health. So at some point, assessment might not be their priority, or finishing an assessment might not be yet the priority. So therefore, how can we make that assessment more relevant for them? Okay. So what I can offer is let's look at assessments as assessment for learning. We look at assessment as means or tools so that we can encourage and support students to continue learning despite their context right now, despite their challenges. So let's start with designing for authenticity. In online learning, designing for authenticity calls every teacher to design summative assessments that go beyond paper and pen. What we want for online learning is that our authentic assessment should be performance based or product based. These are when we what we want to happen is that we give the students real life scenarios that they can solve through using a combination of their learned skills and their essential understandings or knowledge that they have. We want to focus on less of lower order thinking skills in summative assessment. We want to have more HOTS. Why? Because lower order thinking skills seem to be more cheatable or open to cheating. When you are in online learning environment, everything, all informations are just simply clicks or tapped away from the students. So therefore, what we want to avoid is actually to make sure that our items are Google proof. What does that mean? That our items should be more than just informations being looked up in the internet. We want our items or we want our assessments, our authentic summative assessments, to be a combination of complex problems, scenarios in the real world that the students can learn, can apply their learned skills or knowledge on.
Hello, Sir Jim.
The
Can
way,
you reshare your
yes,
slides po? Yan. Hindi po siya hindi po siya nag-change. Thank you.
if, okay, ayan. Okay na?
Yes, Sir Jim. Okay na po.
Is it, okay. All right. So designing for authenticity, if you're very familiar with authentic assessment in the classroom, it's the same basic idea. All right. So you start with standards. You start with a real world scenario, and then you look at the product tax criteria or the rubrics. Can I just emphasize number 4, 5, and 6? For number 4, rubrics. Number 5, benchmarks. These are very, very important because in online learning, students are on their own. And the rubrics or the benchmarks or checks in serve as guide for them so that they will know, or at least they can reflect whether their product or performance is near to that criteria that we are giving to our students. It's very important that we give this criteria beforehand or these rubrics to enable also support at home. Can you imagine kinder and grade B students or those in the lower grades? If they don't have these learning goals or if they don't have this criteria, even parents will have a hard time helping their kids or supervising their kids so that they can do their projects. Plan for sharing to the public or to an authentic audience is something that you can do online. You can schedule a video conference and then ask the students to share or talk about their project for you to give feedback or for their classmates to give feedback. So it's like an online showcase of projects. This is a good dimension right now that we can take advantage of. We can also connect them with experts on the field of the project that we have. For example, if you're asking them to create a multimedia project, maybe you can connect them with experts on multimedia so that they can give feedback and to the work of the students. It gives another dimension of authenticity when projects are being presented to experts in the industry or the area that we are talking about. Okay. These are sample assessments that you can do. It could be as serious as synthesis papers or research papers, collaborative inquiry. It could be as long term as a portfolio. Okay, when you ask the students to take advantage of of apps like CISO or Pages, or even create websites that will showcase their work throughout the period of or time of learning. Case studies are good. A lot of those things, but may I just caution you that the look of how how an authentic assessment in senior high school should be different with how it looks like in grade school or in grade 6 or in the younger years. We need to develop we need to design them according to developmental appropriateness. So we take into consideration the skills of the students. If we are not too attached on the kind of medium that the students will use to demonstrate their learning, we could also ask them to create multimedia products or digital products as evidence of authentic learning. In doing so, you are actually um, taking the route towards multimodal approach of demonstration of learned skills. So it's sort of a differentiated pathway or pathway to differentiation also. So you can ask them to create videos, even podcasts, or even 3D modeling or app creation for more advanced projects.
Hello, Sir Jim.
The basic idea, yes,
Sir, yung slides po ulit. Siguro we can scroll na lang.
it's not moving.
It's not moving.
It's not moving ba?
Opo. So
Is it moving now?
from the first sample authentic assessments dun sa synthesis paper, dun po siya hindi nag-move.
Yeah. So what's happening is that kasi it moves in my
So,
screen. It's
siguro
not
we
moving
can
in your
scroll na
screen.
lang po the slides.
Ganito na lang.
Apa.
Alright.
Yeah.
Okay, sige. I'll make it. Okay, yan. Okay.
Ganda na po.
So there, these are just examples. PBSI will give a copy of the slides to you, so you can just scroll them. And this one, in terms of multimedia or multimodal approach to authentic assessment. All right. These are very much focused on product creation. But if you're supporting students also throughout the process, there are different ways to do that. It could be number one, you can give feedback through asynchronous activities. You can check on them through Skype, Google Hangout, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, FaceTime, and just to make sure that they are on track in terms of the project or performance that they are working on. You can always give them opportunities to collaborate together. So it's also possible that you can ask the students to collaborate on authentic assessments. In online learning, there are a lot of tools that can enable collaboration. It could be Google Suite for Education, Office 365, iCloud, and those things. What I usually do is I actually let them consult or connect with an expert. Before they even present, I always want them to check in with an expert who could give them feedback. Just basically along the line of design thinking, when you let your students present first to maybe their client or anyone who may be involved in this, just to give initial feedback. The initial feedback could be used for them to improve their work before they could even finalize and share it to the bigger group. All right. Design for feedback. So that's the other side. To design for authenticity. Now let's go to design for feedback. Design for feedback actually rests on the idea that in online distance learning, we should be able to give timely and regular feedback to students. These are called your formative assessments or formative learning activities. Okay. The basic challenge here is that since we are not there, we don't do synchronous or video conferences all the time. We should strategically embed formative assessments or formative learning activities throughout the online course. Let's go back to the big idea of Grant Wiggins in terms of what kind of feedback should we be giving. Tangible, transparent, actionable, user friendly, timely, ongoing, and consistent. What do we mean by this? The feedback should be relevant and useful. You don't want to give feedback that will not even help the student to improve their work. Feedback is there to support and continue encouraging them to learn. So a ambiguous feedback is actually not useful, right? You just wasted your time as a teacher to give feedback. Instead of wasting your time on giving ambiguous feedback, why not focus on something that could really help them improve their work? Other forms, aside from formative assessments, you can also use rubrics or checklists. Why am I emphasizing the use of checklists, rubrics? It's really for the younger students. When parents help their kids to study, or supervise them, they also need to know where their kids are. So it would be good that if you have a learning objective, a set of learning goals, or rubrics or checklists, just simply share them to the parents so that they can pick. For older students, these are tools for self-paced learning, self-regulated learning. The checklist will actually help them or guide them throughout the learning process so they can guide themselves. So in higher grades or older students, self-paced learning, self-regulation is very, very important. However, for the younger students, this might not be yet developed. So we need to ask for external supervision or help from parents or any adult supervisors at home, and then make use of rubrics and checklists as guiding tools for them to be able to know where they are. Designing for feedback is actually very, very easy. You can always use online quizzes with automated feedback. Automated feedback means if students' answers are wrong, then the tool itself gives an immediate feedback. You can have guided learning through Edpuzzle, Khan Academy, or YouTube. These are videos or other interactive media that students can go through and give them formative quizzes to check for understanding. What I usually do also is I ask the students to record themselves explaining something through apps like Flipgrid or Seesaw, and then I can also give my feedback through voice or video. Sometimes it makes a difference when our feedback is actually heard by the student because they can nuance the tone of the feedback that you give. It's much more dimensional. There's more dimension into it as compared to just simply writing notes. Portfolios could be assessments for learning. It could be they can be also tools to check for understanding. You could always use Seesaw, Book Creator pages, or any other website. All right. Another favorite tool for online learning is actually discussion boards or discussion thread, like in Padlet or Flipgrid, where you pose a question and then asynchronously or at their own most convenient time, students log in to answer your question, and then everyone discusses the thoughts. You can ask them to reply to their classmate, or you can ask them to reply to more than two or three of your their classmates. Feedback poll like Mentimeter, Fall Everywhere, or Cerner Monkey. These are just easy way to get the big idea or big picture of reaction of students also. Or just like what I've said, it could be as simple as a checklist or rubrics. Any document-based app that shows the rubrics or checklist to parents and students is also a helpful way or also helpful tools to be able to ensure formative feedback. All right. So again, these are the big ideas behind assessment in online learning. Assessments in online learning are should support and encourage learning in students. It's easier for students to get lost online. It's easy for students to be distracted by all the websites, all the other apps that they can access online. So what do we need to do? Is to design formative feedback, formative activities, and even authentic assessment that will really, really go more than gauging their own mastery. It's really more of leading them to appreciate and be accountable of what they are learning. Just a note, designing for authenticity is very challenging, but once you've designed it and you've given it to students, you will see how enjoyable it is to see students really perform or really show or demonstrate their master of knowledge and skills. Designing for feedback, medyo madali ito, right? Online quizzes, online assessment, discussion forums. But the challenge for teachers is actually to give individual feedback. So you want to sustain feedback, but you need to make sure that you also exercise, self-discipline as a teacher in terms of giving feedback to students. If I have actually a large number of students, what I usually do is to gather all their misconceptions in the discussion forums, and then I schedule a video conference just to check in with them. And then I also use that time to clear out misconception. So it's directed to everyone. Everyone goes online and listen to how I clear up misconceptions that I've seen to them. That could be one effective and efficient way of giving formative feedback using video conferences. So you don't use video conference to deliver lectures or discussions that whose content they can read or watch in other platforms. Use video conferences wisely, and one thing to do is to deliver or to give formative feedback to students. All right. So with that, I end my short discussion on online assessment. Maybe we can open the floor now to questions.
About PMC Business Systems Inc., you can go to about.powermaxcenter.com/training. And if you want to learn more on our training sessions, you can go to powermaxcenter.com/products/training booking. And also, we offer trainings for professional development for educators. You can see that on the website. And the course is about technology skills development, pedagogy and technology, designing and creating digital learning tools and resources, and your pathway to edtech expertise. So you can become an Apple teacher, Google certified educator, and or a Microsoft innovative educator. And also, you may download our app. It's called Get Certified app. It's available in the App Store, so you may search it in the App Store, or you can also scan the QR code here. So again, on behalf of PMC Business Systems Inc., thank you very much for attending.